I think I've got the right experience to be a strong premier on day one during really challenging times. As the former president of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, who spent a decade fighting for fiscal responsibility here in Alberta, to having been a senior minister in the National Conservative government, including a Minister of National Defence, it taught me how to work well under enormous pressure. And then my experience of the last year in leading the uniting of Alberta Conservatives. So those are experiences that I think would be relevant to replacing the NDP. And also, I'm a kind of conservative who doesn't blink. You know, we're going to need somebody with a spine who doesn't back down, and somebody who can stand up to fight Justin Trudeau. And I've done that already. I've spent most of my life fighting for lower taxes, and you know, the NDP's tax increases have scared away billions of dollars of investment. They've made a bad situation in this recession worse. They prolonged and deepened the recession through the carbon tax, higher income taxes, higher business and property taxes. They're going to help Mr. Trudeau increase the payroll taxes. Now we have a federal tax attack against small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs. It's getting back to the point where this is, just unsustainable. You cannot tax or borrow your way to prosperity. And so for me, the central focus of this next government will be to modernize our public services and, of course, ensure critical things like frontline healthcare are there, but to get our economy started. And that means sending a message that Alberta is open for business again through a program of tax relief, beginning with the first step of our government, the Carbon Tax Repeal Act. The NDP is launched on a plan to ultimately massively increase our power prices. They're in a rush to shut down our coal plants. That's going to devastate those coal communities, put tens of thousands of Albertans out of work for no good reason. The rest of the world is building up to 2,000 new coal-fired power plants. What we should be doing, if we care about the environment, is investing in improving our already clean coal technology and then exporting it to those developing countries who are building coal-fired plants rather than shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, the NDP is obsessed with wind and solar. The problem is the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day. So they're going to need other forms of backup power. This just doesn't make economic sense. We need to continue diversifying the Alberta economy by getting the economic fundamentals right. And that means it means a strong fiscal position, a balanced budget, it means competitive tax rates. It really means cutting red tape. Many people in the oil and gas industry tell me that it takes up to a year to approve something in Alberta, which they can get approved in a week in Texas, for example. So we need to cut red tape, speed up approvals, reduce the tax burden, stop this increase in power prices, fight like heck for market access for oil and gas, and use the little bit of immigration policy that we control to encourage some of the best and brightest brains in the world to move to Alberta and start businesses here. I think the NDP has killed jobs through its reckless 50% increase in the price of hiring people in the middle of a recession. But that will be fully implemented before the next election, and I don't see any realistic way of reversing it. But I think in order to get small businesses hiring again, we would have to freeze it for a good period of time after that. I'm concerned the NDP wants to undermine parental authority in the education system. Parents are the primary educators of children. It says that in the School Act. And I want to support a school system that offers maximum choices, recognizes every student is unique, and gives that parents are ultimately in charge of their kids' education, that focuses on teaching critical knowledge and skills rather than political agendas or using failed teaching fads. So I'm very concerned about the NDP's rewrite of our curriculum. We'll be watching that closely. If governments like BC and the Ottawa government, if the National Energy Board get in the way of construction of pipelines, there will be repercussions. I think we should, frankly, sue the National Energy Board for violating provincial jurisdiction in its recent decision on Energy East to look at upstream emissions. That is provincial jurisdiction. That's something Peter Lougheed fought for and won. And if BC's NDP government stands in the way of the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain pipeline, I will ensure there are repercussions. You know, if that means not permitting the shipment of oil through the current Kinder Morgan pipeline to the Lower Mainland, that should be one of the options. Well, all options will be on the table. They can't launch a trade war against Alberta. They can't violate the rule of law or Canada's economic union without there being repercussions.